Hi, my name is Asher Stratton, and I'm going to discuss why marijuana should be federally legalized in the United States. Back in the 1800s, the United States was first introduced to marijuana. The Chinese have been cultivating it for hundreds of years at this point, and when the United States received marijuana, the medical community saw it for what it was, a boon, and it was able to use it for treatment for things like pains and cramps, for opium addiction, mental illnesses like depression and anxiety. In addition, hemp, a byproduct of the cannabis plant, the fibers, can be used to fashion things like ropes, sails, tents, and clothes. So with this wonderful plant, how did it become demonized? Well, back in the 1930s, a man by the name Harry J. Anslinger led a witch hunt against cannabis to discredit and disprove blacks and immigrants. They would use stories of drug-induced violence, about things like jazz music and Negroes, and other horrible accusations that would spread in newspapers throughout America to appeal to a racist white America. So he did this and received so much standing and support that in 1937 he was able to get Congress to federally codify cannabis regulation, and in reality strangled the distribution and consumption of the drug. So for the next 30 or so years, marijuana was on the fringes of society until the 60s and 70s, the peace, love, and marijuana, if you will, groovy era. By then, roughly half of college-aged students had recreationally tried the drug, and there was a cultural shift that was maybe the drug wasn't as awful as the newspapers and government made it seem. The same time of this era, though, was the civil rights movement. And in 1970, Richard Nixon classified marijuana under the Controlled Substance Act, classifying marijuana as a Schedule 1 drug with no recognized medical use or unfit for empirical research. He did this to discredit the activists by associating the Black Panthers and other civil rights advocate groups with cannabis and dangerous morals. He would. We know this to be true. We see this in our studies today. Black men are sent to state prisons at 13 times the rate of white men. At only 12% of the population, black men represent 62% of drug offenders sent to state prisons. Since the war on drugs in the 70s, law enforcement agencies have received over $4.3 billion in materials. That's money that's going to police officers for SWAT tanks, for guns, instead of going to things like the community where it could go for public education or transit or healthcare. Well, we know that's what Americans want. 91% of Americans support legalization in some form. We can use the money raised in taxes and regulation to improve social services. California raised $4 billion alone since 2018 in taxes. Not just increasing revenue, but also reducing the strain on health services. In states with legal marijuana, there was a 13% decline in claims and a 20% decline, or 20% decrease in workers' compensation expenses. So we don't know exactly all of the benefits either, because we're not allowed to conduct research due to the classification of Schedule 1 drug of cannabis. So Americans support it. There's so much money wasted. It's a morality war that ends up disproportionately affecting blacks and immigrant and other minority groups, and we have so much money to be earned. Marijuana should be federally legalized for all of these reasons. Thank you. Bye.